Yeah, Jason and I will not be here next weekend.
Oh, you're killing me.
But we'll record multiple, and then we'll get them in the can this week. How about that?
All right, we'll try that.
I can record tomorrow.
See, I use the word can. See, I'm in the biz, you see?
You are in the biz. Great.
Because we definitely put them in the can. Hey, we're back. This is the Old Guys Playing Games, and I'm Jason with my pals. We took a couple weeks off. We apologize. We had a great last episode. It was great to have a guest on, but we're back. It's just the four of us, and we got some fun topics today because there's a new season of Call of Duty out, and there's a part of that that's fired up Josh. It's a recurring theme, but we're going to let Josh.
I don't know if it's part of season 3, but it's
fired
up.
But
no, because this was in Cold War.
Yeah, I know, but it happens in all the games.
Okay.
Stu has some really cool Xbox sales revenue news, and then Ken also has some discussions about video game movies or movies about video games. So we're going to kick it off. Josh, you're fired up. We played Call of Duty Cold War, and
yeah. So you guys know you always make fun of me because I'm the one that cries wolf about the cheaters, but I think we all witnessed it today, and I think in the past couple of weeks, I think we've seen some occurrences of it. But today was just ridiculous. We were playing Cold War. This wasn't even Vanguard. This was Cold War.
Nuketown, and
we were on Nuketown. Yes, Jason, I know where we were. Give me a chance. Don't take over yet. And I mean, we're good players. Like, come on, guys. Let's be honest. You know, we're coming in. We have positive KDs and all that stuff. We're in a domination, and we could not get out of our spawn point. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I captured a video of this guy that slid, like he did like a Jedi Force slide thing. I sent it to you guys. Please view it at your leisure.
Did you send it on Xbox? Because I didn't.
Yeah, I did the Xbox one.
Okay,
yeah, I did the Xbox.
I'll go look.
So I mean, it's just super frustrating because when you go from if you go from, let's say you have a game where you're 25 kills and 15 deaths, right? And that's kind of your average, and you're winning most of the time. And then all of a sudden, the team, well, when I say you're, I mean the team. The team is winning the domination, right? And then all of a sudden you get in a game where you go 19 and 56, right? And you can't get out of your own spawn point. I mean, sometimes I say, okay, am I just being that guy? And is it just like a lobby that they put like a bunch of really good players in and we just happen to go up against it? Or is it that these guys are doing something differently? Or do they have the wall cheats or whatever it is on? Like, I don't know, but it's super frustrating to go and to have a couple in a row too, because we had the domination one, and then I think the next one was similar. And then all of a sudden we get back into a game where the people barely play the objective, and you win 200-10.
And it's one thing if they're visibly there, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's one thing if you start to, they tell me coming or that. But then it was like, those guys were honest, like everywhere. Like there was no, like
every corner was covered.
Like, you came out and they were there. And it's like, okay, well, you're supposed to both start on both sides of the map. And like everywhere we came out, they were there. And it was like, and then there were some ninja moves and others. And I think, I don't know. I think we've seen more of that, at least some ninja moves. And maybe I don't know enough of the Xbox crossplay versus non-crossplay. I don't know.
Well, that's what I was going to say too. I think crossplay probably, because if you look at their kill cams, right, they're moving. They clearly have a mouse, right? They're moving way faster. But I think maybe because it was in Cold War, maybe they've spent less time on coming after the cheaters in Cold War.
Do they have Ricochet?
Time on Vanguard.
Ken, do they have Ricochet on Cold War?
On that. That's Warzone, right?
No, it's Warzone, but it's also been moved over to Vanguard. Yeah. So you're right, Josh. I don't see it a lot, but what I do notice is that when we do have what we suspect is a cheater, it's not just one. I think they roam in packs.
I would agree with that, especially in this particular game. It was clear.
Yeah, and I've gone as far back as Modern Warfare and played, and I've witnessed it as well. So I think what might be happening with Ricochet being released, I think maybe the cheaters may be shifting over to the older game titles that don't have the Ricochet, because according to the progress report for Vanguard with regard to anti-cheat. They've done 90,000. They've announced over 90,000 accounts that have been shuttered in a recent ban wave.
Damn.
So, and then they've also talked about another 54,000 on top of that as well. So
that's crazy.
It sounds like they are making progress, but I don't think they're going back to the previous titles and attacking those.
It's like termite house tenting. You know, they move to the next house.
To another.
Yeah, they move to your neighbor.
But another question I would have. Okay, so they're cheating. Like, what's the point? Is it really just you're that like insecure about yourself that you need to cheat to beat somebody in Call of Duty? Like, I don't get it. It's not like it's for
chasing
money.
Objectives or weapons or something.
Okay, but where's the fun in cheating to get the objective? Like, that's the whole point of it, right? Is to actually conquer it.
I think that this isn't a new thing, right? So, but I think that it's the mentality that I can be better than you, even though I am taking, performance enhancing drugs. Which is cheating. I think that it's across the board. People want to be better. They want to be the best. And sometimes they don't have the skill level, or sometimes they do and they cheat anyway because they just want to be the best. Some find cheating as that mountain, they want to get to that mountain. So, to say that they have been able to successfully cheat, there's a slew of hackers or coders out there that want to try to circumvent all of the roadblocks just to say that they could, It's
garbage.
Look at all those guys.
It's not how we play. That's for sure.
No, look at all those guys that have been caught cheating that are like competing, right? And they get busted in
tournaments.
I get there's money involved there, but still, you got to think that if you watch those guys,
you're going to get caught.
That's there. Like something's not. It's even more complex than Josh or us saying something. Even though, of us, you're probably the best player of the four of us.
Well,
but you can see when those. But when
we all bring our strengths, boys, we all bring our strengths.
I didn't say we weren't a team and that we weren't jointly. But it is interesting how. I think Ken's analogy to the performance enhancing drugs are dead on right. I think it's a matter of, we always go back to, remember the old cheat codes you'd get in the books, and people wanted, you don't want to earn it the right way. And I never understood cheat codes. I just never did.
Remember
yes, but
Game Shark? Game Shark was another thing that they had,
what was that
back in the day. Game Shark used to be it's like a memory card that you put into your controller, and it had a way to circumvent or get you beyond, or have you get all the achievements all at once or whatever.
If there's something to cheat, somebody will always find it. You know what I mean?
There is, and that's part of for those people. That's part of the appeal, is that they want to be able to be the ones that find that loophole. They want to find, in all honesty, these people should be hired to find holes in bugs in software and gaming software, instead of letting these people roam out in the wild and causing havoc for the rest of us.
So Stu reported
a great documentary. Go ahead.
No, go ahead,
Jason.
Wait, what?
Oh, I was just
there was a great documentary on, I think, Netflix called Bad Money, I think is what it's called. And it talks about sports, people who have cheated. If you haven't watched it, I encourage you to watch it. It's actually really, really good and very interesting.
Sad.
It is sad
because it's like that's almost like a sickness, right? Like, I need to do it. I need the money, and then you get a taste of it, and then you keep doing it, right?
Like gambling.
I won't get caught. It's just it just annoys me, and I think part of it too, and to cross over, like Stuart was saying, like I'll just talk about shoes for a second. Botters, right? botters. They bought shoe sites and they get 50 pairs of a shoe, and that automatically jacks up the price so that you can't buy it for a retail price or even close to it. It's a similar type of thing. I just wish, and I know we live in a world where people are people, and just like you're talking about, Ken, it's like a mountain to climb. Like, I can do it and be better than you and either profit off of it or have a better score than you. Right.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating.
Jason, you were going to say something?
You actually reported this guy. So it is when you take the risk. When you take the risk and you think someone's cheating and you report them.
Is that a risk? I did not take a risk.
I don't know. Just, well, I mean, I don't know how the reporting process works. Like if it's like on Waze, if one person that isn't verified says that there's a police officer there, you're probably not going to show up on the map immediately. I wonder if it's
correct.
You have higher credibility, it is.
That would be really cool.
I know a little bit about this because my son and his friends have gotten themselves in trouble in times. So if you do report somebody, if you have specifics, they can actually go and look at those specifics if they are something like the way they chat or the way they send messages via text. But if it's a gameplay thing, then it has to be one of those things where, like you mentioned in Waze, there has to be a number of different individuals that submit a similar claim before they start investigating, because there's only so much they can do, because most of these games are not run on Microsoft servers, but most of the reporting is done to Microsoft, and they have to field it out to Activision or whatever else to investigate. And they are the ones who own the servers. Even then, it's not necessarily very easy for them to retroactively go and check to see if someone has been cheating. What they're trying to do with Ricochet is they're trying to catch the cheaters as they're cheating using almost like a antivirus software where you fill it full of definitions of known ways for people to use viruses or malware, and they start searching for that. So they're constantly adding to the repertoire, the definition database to try to find these guys as they're cheating. But the report structure, it's going to take a few more people to probably report it before he gets caught.
Isn't it easy just to make another account? Like, I mean,
yes,
it's
unfortunately.
I think that's part of what Ricochet makes harder. I think and they're making it more difficult to detect those accounts. So I think that's part of it. But I think it is pretty easy. I think the one thing would be sort of cool, like Waze, is if there is somebody that had been repeatedly sort of banged as being a cheater, that if there was some sort of indicator. I know it's a bit scarlet lettery, but I mean, anyway, I think it seems to me like if they really wanted to crack down on cheating, they could.
Well, so Microsoft used to have this. I think they did away with it, but they used to have there was a way to determine how. Sorry, guys, my brain is fried.
How many times they've been reported?
Well, no, not necessarily that, but whether or not people have had good or bad experiences playing with you.
So it's like a rating.
It is
like
kind of
like an indicator of your.
It is, and it's like a 1 to 10 or 0 to 100 or something like that. So you can kind of gauge whether or not if somebody invites you as a friend or if you're playing with somebody, you can kind of see, okay, well, this guy's kind of lowly rated, so people must not like him very much, that type of thing. So I think they've done away with that since, but that was a way to determine whether or not this person was a bad actor, as it were.
I mean, that part, that one,
reputation. I'm sorry, that was a word that I was struggling with. I was trying to find it. Sorry, Josh, go ahead.
That one I think is scary, a little scary to me, because you could just, that opens up for bullying.
Well, it could be false, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. But I would think, like you said, or maybe it was Stuart said, there's got to be a way that there's got to be a better way if they focused resources on it to be able to find this out, right? And then I think it's totally in bounds to put an indicator or something on this person's gamer tag to where it says, be careful, this person has been flagged so many times for cheating or for doing something incorrect or whatever. I think that's okay.
Right or wrong or indifferent, it's like trying to apply for a job and you have to disclose that you have been convicted of a crime. I don't think that is necessarily bullying. I don't think that is. I think that's full disclosure. I think if you're going into a game and you're trying to have a good experience, you need to know the type of people that you're playing with. And if you and this goes back to the conversation we had a long time ago where we wish that we could actually have groups where I only play with people that have met these standards, or this age group or something like that. And I don't want to play with the 10, 12-year-olds. I don't want to play with, people that are hateful and all that stuff. I want to play with old guys that know how to play the game. They play the game the right way and like to have fun.
I have a counterpoint. Maybe I've been thinking about this counterpoint, and I sort of said it to Josh and Stu as we were playing. I much rather have a game. It's frustrating as hell, but I'd much rather have a game where I worked my butt off the entire time and we fell short, and there may have been cheaters, than where we're just completely over the top. We've crushed them 200 to like 13 because they're not playing the game type. It's more fun to me that we tried to overcome the cheating, even if it's, it feels like cheating sometimes, and sometimes they're just damn good. And that's what I think was going on in that. I haven't watched the video yet, so
I mean that's just a single example, and I don't know that it says they're cheating or not, but I'm not against competition, man. That's the whole point. I play this stuff, not the whole point, but one of the main points. Can't play basketball anymore. I can't do those things to get that competitive fire, right? So this is why I do it. And I'm fine losing, but if you're going to be cheating, that's BS. Like, it's just not cool. That's
Jason, I know what you're talking about is trying to balance it, right? They should understand our skill level, whether it's based on how high we ranked our characters or whatever, and put us with like people as far as their skill level. Instead of, because I agree with you, I think having a clean sweep of a game is boring. And I do have a lot of fun, even when there is a cheater, where we are fighting tooth and nail to win, and we're cursing at the other person because they're cheating. They can't hear us because we don't open up our mics to everybody. But I do have more fun in those games than the ones that are a clean sweep. Where it's like the other team's not trying, or we're so overskilled over them that it's not fun. So
okay, I just had a thought. Why do we go, if we're going to go four of us, if all four of us are playing, or we're playing one of those games where the team size is going to be 6, why don't we go off a party chat and go on live chat with the whole team? It'd be really interesting to play with those other 2 people.
I'm willing to try it, but I think Josh has hit it on the head there. I have accidentally kept my mic open when I play by myself, and I have noticed that nobody else is chatting either. It's like that has gone by the wayside. But if the 4 of us did,
and if they do, it's not tactical. It's just they're stupid.
Right.
At least that's that's a small sample size, but I'm fine doing it. I'm fine trying it though.
I can try it. I mean,
we never tried.
The juice may not be worth the squeeze.
Okay, we're going to move us on to the next topic. We talked a little bit about Call of Duty, but this week we're excited because there's a new season drop. It's season 3 of Call of Duty. First impressions. Let's start with Ken.
So I haven't played it all that much, but I do like what they've done with Warzone. We only played it a little bit, and I do like it. I really want to get back to it, and hopefully we can do it tonight. But I'm looking forward to this Monarch storyline. They've been introduced. They're going to introduce both Godzilla and King Kong to Caldera Island. You're already right now, as you're going through Caldera, you are starting to see boxes, crates that have the Monarch logo, which is the company that apparently had either incidentally created or is trying to fight the Godzilla. So I like the map changes. They're subtle, but they're enough to draw me in. I go to different places on the map now just to try to see what's different. As far as multiplayer, I've only played there's only one new map, I think, that they introduced, Mayhem, I believe it is, which It looks like a film studio for a Godzilla movie. Because as you and your character, you are huge walking down these streets because Godzilla was a dude in a suit, and they were filming him crushing cars. Yeah, no, seriously, he's not real. And so it's very, very cool little set. I think playing that in a objective style game would be fun, but we only played it so far in.
So can I take us on a tangent on that one real quick? No. Because that point, because you're right. We haven't played an objective, and I was thinking about that map, and to me it shows you how good Shipment is as a small map. Because Shipment, you could play domination, you can play team deathmatch. I don't know if I've ever seen hardpoint on it, but it's been so versatile across all the games. And this map, I think, is intended to be a small map like that. But I'm curious to see if we get an objective to see how. Because the team deathmatch is like blah blah blah. You run around, it's not that fun.
Yeah,
but it is it's definitely a cool aesthetic. I will say that.
So, do you think the size of it is as big as Shoot House or DOS House?
I think it's smaller than DOS House, don't you?
Stu, what do you think?
I have no opinion. No, just kidding. I think. Well, I think Josh is right. I think we haven't played it without any other game types, and I do think whether it's Shipment or DOS House, those are pretty perfect little maps, right? Just like Nuketown, right? They fit their purpose well. They have enough space. They have enough nooks and crannies. I haven't figured out the Godzilla map thingy at Mayhem map yet. It just seems a little. It doesn't seem as defensible. Is that the right way to put it? And so maybe we got to play a little more, and we've got to play. I assume there are other other game types besides when we played, but
it says there are.
I mean, if you're just doing like domination or you're just doing deathmatch, it's a bit chaotic, frankly. So I would really like to see it with a hard point. I mean, domination would be good too, but I'd really like to see it with a hard point or maybe even a patrol.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Oh, patrol would kick ass.
Jason, what do you think?
Sorry.
Well, I think we talked about the map. We talked about Warzone, which I like. It's not fully there yet. I think the Godzilla thing coming May 11th will be cool. I think I
have no clue what that's going to be.
The thing that I still have questions, I got to go read, is
hopefully
the new trophy systems. I deploy them. They reset all the time, and I deploy them all over the place. But I'm not really sure what they're doing. Like it's hard for me to tell what they're doing. So I'm gonna. There was some huge description about the new, more effective trophy systems, but it's almost sounded like, if I read it quickly, like I read everything, they actually don't just defend you. They actually have some sort of offensive component to it. So I got to read it.
Interesting.
Sounds dangerous. So
real quick before we jump off of Call of Duty, how do you guys feel about the fact that Rebirth Island is still part of this and it's not just Caldera? I mean, do you like the fact that you can go to something of a smaller map versus Caldera and play over there?
Change.
Yeah, I guess I do. I like the fact they didn't take it away, right?
But didn't they have a nice mix of the two at one point where it was Rebirth on Caldera and it was just a smaller part of the map? Did they get rid of that?
Yes. No, they do have that. It comes and goes, right? The different game types, they come and go. I don't think it's there now. Right now, it's only Resurgence, solos, duos, trios, and quads. Next week, it's the Resurgence still there, and then they introduced Blood Money quads on Rebirth Island. We love Blood Money. Blood Money is you just get as much money as you possibly can and to win the game.
But how's it different than Plunder?
Because you drop when you kill people, they drop more money. There was something else. I can't remember off the top of my head what the difference was, but I remembered we enjoyed that game type.
So more to come on Call of Duty when the Godzilla thing comes out. We're for sure gonna have reactions to that. May 11th. So we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna come back and talk about. Stu has some updates on Microsoft Xbox sales, and then we're going to close out with video game movies. So after the break, we'll be back. Okay, Stu, you told us before we started the show that there's some new Xbox sales records. What's the deal?
Yes, well, thank you, Jason. I'd like to inform the listeners about this is the financial segment of Old Guys Playing Games.
We need the ticker.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I feel like I want the name from the guy from Trading Spaces, Mortimer and whatever. Anyway, so it's actually really
Trading
interesting.
Places.
So Microsoft released their earnings last week. I just happened to be in Redmond when that was being released, which was fun.
Ah, that's right.
But it was really interesting to see that there was a lot of news around the revenue from gaming and also from hardware, which was quite interesting. So basically, year-on-year revenue is up 20%. And what's interesting there is that the Xbox Series X and S were up like 14% year-on-year, which is a big number when you consider the limitations that they've had when it comes to hardware availability, but everybody's been constrained by that. So there was a whole thing of like, if you're up 14 to 15% from the year before, content was up like 4%. Surface devices were up as well. So there's a big push in hardware. And I don't know if that's what I saw was compared to so Nintendo's still outselling them on devices, I think number wise, but it was very telling apparently from a hardware perspective that they've they're pulling away from PlayStation is the belief. Now, I haven't seen the PlayStation numbers, but they attributed 14% increase in hardware sales to Xbox X and Series X, with content and services increased by 4%. The question is, what happens when they get Activision, and what is that going to mean for the overall revenue next year? You would expect to see a big chunk of that. I mean, obviously, Activision has a nice revenue chunk, so you'd expect to see that next year. So what's interesting about that is I would expect that March is not your typical big Xbox sales month, right? Or that quarter, because you're talking January,
why
February,
were people
March, right? You're not talking end
Maybe
of year
because
Christmas.
the supply came in.
I think that may be it, but the supply still hasn't been massive, right? So it's very telling and interesting. I think we're going to look for the next quarterly earnings, see where it's going. But if it continues down this trend, maybe their strategy of buying studios and the Xbox Game Pass, which has been extremely successful compared to others, is just whittling away at the perceived PlayStation dominance over the last couple of years. Yeah.
With that success, do you foresee them changing the price structure for Game Pass? Or
you're thinking like a true capitalist, Ken. I like it. I don't know. I mean, the question is, what's the intent? Is that revenue material to Microsoft or not? And so, what is the intent? I mean, I think the short answer is eventually it's going to have to go up, I would think. But if we get more really, what we pay today, if we think about what we get for it, it's a pretty good deal. So I would expect it to go up. I don't expect it to go up hugely, but I think if there is ever a dominant player, I think we would do. I mean, let's be realistic. We wouldn't have all these things if we didn't have the competition that we had, right? I mean, PlayStation would have never had a Game Pass, whatever their version is.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems untenable to buy these companies like EA and Activision and Bethesda, and make those games available on Game Pass. It starts to really eat in the sales of the individual games. So I would expect that if they're going to continue to add those to the Game Pass, that the Game Pass pricing will go up.
Yeah, but it depends if they get revenue in other areas, right? So I guess the question will become, where it gets interesting is when the next version of these come out, my expectation is they'll all be streaming, right? Everything will be streaming. So the question then it becomes a content provider, and when it becomes pure content, does it become a Roku or an Apple TV at that point? I don't know, but if you get, you're going to pay 20 for this, 20 for this, 20 for this, or I'll pay 20 for this and get all that stuff included. And do they go after a content house at some point, right? As opposed to a game house.
Yeah.
So
do they go after Netflix, who's weak, right?
Yeah. So you got me thinking then, if all of the purchases that going forward for them are going to be these content houses or game studios, and everything's going to be streaming, what is the driver for the next hardware device? Like, why do they need a next Xbox device?
Well, because they need to tie you to the content, right? So the question becomes, it's a good question. What is the hook on the content? So the really interesting thing is, you're right. If they've got you hooked on the content, does the device you receive the content on matter? It's a Windows 11 story, right?
Right.
Or it's an Office 365 story. I can get it on anything now. right? When it was pure proprietary, it was more limited in its reach. Now everybody's.
Are you talking content or games?
No, what we're saying, like,
game is content, yeah.
Anything that streams, right? Because there's this blending that we talked about on previous shows. But if I think back to my streaming devices for movies, like I've bought every generation of the Apple TV there has been. It is because each one goes to the next resolution level. Like the 4K, HDR version is out now. So that's the only thing. If there's a new standard, and I'm not read enough on this stuff, but like if there's a new resolution standard, if there's now going to be an 8K HDR, UHD, whatever it is, I guess that would be, or maybe
it's going to be a horsepower
headset.
I think. So we talked about this offline about the Unreal Engine 5, and we've seen how amazing those visuals are. I suspect that there is going to be a need for a little bit of change in the horsepower of the console or your PC to be able to run that. And that's always been the problem with PC gaming, is that you're always chasing that next level.
But from streaming though, Ken?
You're still going to need to have that horsepower to be able to play that game, because it's going to stream, but it's still going to put that onto the hard drive and run it from the hard drive. It's not all going to be run out there. Be able to get the best graphics, and I think you've seen this already, that when you stream a game, you're not getting the full effect of the visuals than if you had downloaded the game.
Okay,
that's where I was going, and Ken's way smarter than me, so he can articulate it. But that's where I was going, is like, don't you need that ability for the graphics and all that good stuff?
Yeah.
Stu's going to tell us about edge compute. I mean, in all seriousness, like when you talk about 5G, you talk about edge computing, cloud, like there will be a point when you truly don't need all this beefy hardware sitting in your house. So that's why I'm saying, like, are we at maybe one generation away from the last new console? Or Ken's saying he's shaking his head
flying
that way.
cars too.
I don't think. Yeah, I think we're closer to flying cars than we are to having a solely streaming solution. Because right now there's way too much latency in the existing infrastructure for consumer grade internet access, that you are not going to be able to get. Right now, it's even hard to get 4K, okay, unless you pay for the premium stuff. And even then, you will still have issues. You will have, it'll take a while for it to buffer. It will drop out periodically, and you'll start to watch a movie in 640 instead of 4K. It happens for a moment, but in watching a movie, it's not nearly as annoying as if you're in the middle of a game. If you're in a game and that happens, it ruins the back and forth communication between the other players, especially if you're playing multiplayer. Yeah, so we're not there yet. And I don't see that 5G, 6G, I don't see that solving that problem. We have to get away from this mentality of wireless infrastructure being the savior. We have to try to get back into the fiber realm and start laying more fiber and make it more affordable.
Stu and I don't agree, but
I don't think they will. I don't disagree, but I think that they're not going to go. I think companies don't make any money in fiber, so they stopped it.
I know, and
I'm glad I still have it. Anyway, so that's it. That ends the financial segment. Thank you for tuning in. Is playing financial monies, and I'm curious to see next quarter where this goes, but I'm
sure you'll let us know.
I will let you know.
I had a topic I want to talk about, but Josh, you were trying to chime in there.
Well, no, Jason's telling me time out.
No, Ken has a topic.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I forgot to say it when Stuart actually said it, but the question was, is Xbox finally taking over PlayStation? And I feel like, just thumb to the air, like, how often, if you ask a gamer what they're playing on, do you hear PlayStation? Like, I feel like it's going to be Xbox. I don't know, more than 60% of the time. So I just wanted to chime in there.
I was surprised to find out that most of the kids on my son's soccer team are Xbox players. I really expected there to be a bigger mix, but he said almost every one of them, which tells me maybe 90% are Xbox players, which is great. I'm a big fan of that. It also makes it easier for these guys to bond outside of the or off the field, But I think you're right, Josh. I think that Xbox is taking the majority of it, but I think also Xbox players are a little bit more vocal about it. In my opinion, I don't think you have a lot of
good call. Good call.
Ken had a closer topic I wanted to get to.
Okay.
Jason wants us out.
All right.
Okay.
So I came across this movie on Netflix that it was called Choose or Die, and it's based on like an 80s video game, text-based adventure game. And I was really, really intrigued. Now, granted, the movie's not fantastic, but I found a lot of enjoyment out of it because of the retro feel of the game that they were playing, some of the technology that they had to use to play the game. The story is take it for what it's worth. It's a horror film. But I really enjoyed taking a technology like video games and building a story around it. And that's kind of what this was. They could have done anything. They could have, it could have been a Ouija board. It could have been like Jumanji, for crying out loud, the original, not the new video game version. But I really enjoyed it. I encourage you to watch it because there's a lot of holes, but there's a lot of discussion points that you can actually start to nerd out on and say, okay, well, how is this really happening? But it's basically it's the tape deck kind of software where you had a tape player and you hooked that up to your computer, and that was the software that drove the game. And the game was like a choose your own adventure, text-based adventure type game where you had to make decisions along the way. Where it turns into horror is that this starts to bleed over into the real world, and he has to make decisions that are actually do impact his life, which there's a whole social commentary there, I'm sure. But I wondered if
this is Netflix.
Yeah, it's Netflix called Choose or Die. It's actually I encourage you to watch it. It's a delightful romp, as I like to say.
I love it. It's a delightful romp. I'm in.
It is. It's really interesting. So I encourage you to watch it and pay attention to certain things, especially the technology that they're using and some of the stuff, because it might bring back memories from when you were a kid with the older PCs and stuff like that. But there's a lot of cool movies out there that are based on video games. And I'm not talking about the Sonic movies, and stuff like that. But there's original titles like Player One. That's what it's called, right? Player One?
Ready Player One?
Ready Player One. I thought that was an incredible story, whether you read it or you watched the movie. I thought it was incredibly well done. There was a lot of pop culture in it, of course, which really made it great. But the whole premise of, like the Terminator movie where you're Running Man, where you're trying to compete against to be able to win that prize, that was a great. And
I think it's a
film for
predictor of things to come more than it isn't. Metaverse, Mr. Metaverse.
I agree. So what other movies can you guys think of video game wise that maybe it was based off of an actual title, or it was an original movie that had a video game? Oh yes,
Cloak and Dagger,
Tomb Raider.
Oh yeah, Tomb Raider.
Those were good.
I liked the last one. I definitely liked the last one with the new actress.
I watch Cloak and Dagger with my kids now that I said that.
Well, one of the most famous movies that became a game was E.T., let's be honest.
Oh, one of the most infamous video games.
That's right.
Now, Cloak and Dagger, though, I really like that. Was that a video game first or a movie first?
I think it's a movie first, right? Wasn't it? What? I don't know what he's showing.
All right. So this is the same thing with Tron. Okay. People think
history lesson coming.
It is here we come. These were movie tie-in games. These were games that came out at the same time that the movie came out to tie in with the game. So Tron came out the same year that the movie came out. Cloak and Dagger, the original Atari game, that one came out in 1984 when Cloak and Dagger came out in the theaters. So,
Interesting. I didn't
yeah,
know
and
that.
that's an interesting time frame in the 80s when they were able to do that, and they started doing that a lot, making video games as tie-ins to the films. And that's what hurt E.T., is that E.T. didn't think to do that until after the fact. And they're like, oh, well, we want to have this revenue stream too. Everybody else is doing it, so let's make a game on that. And then, of course, they gave the software developers a very, very short window of time. And we all know the story of the E.T. game. So,
I think we
So
can,
it
we
came
can
out. So
definitely
it was a video game. Came out at the same time as the movie. That's interesting. I don't remember that. I'm trying.
look it up.
I'm looking it up as we speak.
Well, I know that we could go on this topic forever, but there's a game I think of, Burger Time, and I think, Jason, it's almost your Burger Time.
Oh my god!
So, like that tie-in, you like it? You like it?
We're ending the podcast because J-Dub needs to eat.
Good. I was just going to talk about. I was going to talk about Wreck-It Ralph, which is a different take.
Which we have talked about. Yes, that's a cool one. Actually, that's actually a really interesting one because it's like those other ones, Jason, but it's not, right?
You're in a video game.
Right. And then they released a video game as a promotion, but not an actual real video game, which was cool.
Yeah, they took an old Donkey Kong cabinet and reconfigured it to play this little Wreck-It Ralph or Fix-It Felix.
And they made like 12 of them, right?
Right. Yeah, they made a very limited, and then they would give them to arcades and just set them up and not really have any advertisement around it. But that in of itself, and I talked about guerrilla marketing, that in of itself was the marketing for the movie, which I thought was very, very smart and very well done.
I love that movie. That's one.
Mm-hmm. That's a fun movie.
Probably. It is fun. It was way better than I thought it was going to be.
Even the second one I thought was really, really well done.
Whoa. What?
Oh.
There's another one?
Yeah,
only
two of them, right?
The second one was the princesses.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, the second
Josh,
one.
did you see it?
Yeah, you got to watch that. It's great.
I've seen one. I know there were two, but I think I've
It's
only
called
seen one.
something about he wrecks the internet or something like that. So they
Yes.
go beyond video games. They actually talk about Twitter and they talk about Netflix. And
they leave the arcade, correct?
Yes, they do. They leave the arcade and they make it onto the internet where everything else is, and then he
I
wreaks
have
havoc.
seen it. Now that you said that.
The best scene is the Disney princess scenes. It's the best.
It is. I agree.
She turns them all.
Well, hopefully there'll be more of these.
That's a nice take. I like the. I hope so
Oh, yeah.
too.
Absolutely.
Cloak and Dagger. Go watch it.
I honestly don't know what you guys are talking about, and I feel
Oh my
like
gosh, Jason, you've seen it.
Wait, is Gene
Isn't
Hackman
it
in
the
it?
same
No,
kid?
Dabney Coleman.
Oh, Dabney.
Isn't
Okay,
it-
so I have seen it. So
Isn't the kid from
was-
ET? Isn't the same kid from ET in that?
No.
Isn't that the same?
No.
No.
It's
I do know what you're talking about now. I love that
did you know
movie.
there's a TV series?
yes,
Yeah.
but I think it's not the same
It's
thing.
not
right?
that one. That one's based off Marvel. There's a Marvel
Marvel,
Cloak and Dagger story that is not related to the Cloak and
Henry, isn't it
Henry Thomas
something?
is who you're thinking, but I don't think that's who's in it. Oh, I take that back.
I told you.
Henry Thomas,
Come on
Dabney
now.
Coleman. Yep. I'm sorry.
Josh with his kid from ET reference.
How dare you?
Man, I'm going to go watch this movie again. I love that dang movie. And there was a video game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember the
I don't-
real video game. I know it was
I don't
based
either.
on a video game, but
I mean, back then, they're like the ET game. They were very loosely based on the movie. Tron was the only one I think that had some success with that because the gameplay in Tron was more closely related to and resembled the movie and the gameplay that was in the movie. Whereas
It had these stupid elevators. I'm remembering this game now.
Cloak and Dagger.
No,
yeah.
you're thinking of
I'm thinking of elevator action.
yeah, you're thinking.
No,
of
I know
Action.
that one. No. Unless this is not an elevator and it's like a bridge. I'm just looking at a screenshot. See if I can find it. That's crazy.
It might be an
Dabney Coleman's
know.
wearing a
overhead look.
beret. He wears
yeah,
kids.
he's
He
got
wears
the
a
trench
beret.
Guys
coat
wear a
and all.
beret. Right. Wow, I just saw a game art
Can't go
of a
wrong with the
Nintendo
beret.
game. Go look up Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance.
All right.
Okay. Holy moly.
Yep. I've seen that.
Okay, well,
Baldur's
that
Gate, you guys
wraps it
talking
up
about me?
on another episode of Old Guys Playing Games. We're going to come back on another future episode to talk more about movies and games and movies.
Hopefully sooner than the last.
I'm freaking
one
hungry.
we had,
I didn't eat lunch.
Yes.
Well, it's another episode. I'm Jason. We didn't rehearse this.
I'm Josh.
I'm Ken.
And I'm Stu.
And we're the Old
There's
Guys
only one
Playing
left.
Games. We out.
Sip.